Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the first virtual Summer Institute for NICFL. This afternoon, we're ready for a discussion on novels and grade level readers in the language classroom. I'm Jenny Delfini, chair of the Summer Institute this year. I'll be hosting along with John Carlino, our executive director, and helping behind the scenes as always are the executive committee, Leslie Kudlick, Sally Barnes, Marissa Houlihan, and Valerie Greer. The session will be recorded. Please use the chat for questions and comments throughout. Participation is strongly encouraged. And additionally, if you're tweeting or using social media, please include @NICFL and the hashtag NICFLSI, along with the handles for our presenters that we'll put in the chat box so that we can see and share all of your thoughts. A special congratulations again to all of our Summer Institute Scholarship winners, Leo Banjo, Marie Caju, Nora Diaz-Guevara, Katie Johnsanti, and Yenny Lai. And it's my pleasure to welcome back this afternoon our presenter, Patricia Moller. Trish is a veteran language teacher with 25 plus years experience with a master's degree in Spanish linguistics and pedagogy. In addition to classroom teaching, she presents to other teachers on comprehensible input techniques around the state and beyond. She is a coach for Blaine Ray at the National Teaching Through Reading and Storytelling Conference each July. Trish is an adjunct instructor at Marist College, where she supervises aspiring language teacher candidates. And I told you this morning I have her on speed dial. I'm so glad that she became part of our district in the recent years, and I'm so thankful for her for sharing again with us this afternoon. Thank you, Trish.
Oh, this is great to be here, but this afternoon is all about all of you guys, because we're going to do some breakout groups and really get a chance to share with one another. So I really encourage you, while I do have some questions to get you started, to encourage you to please put into the chat box any topics that you want to talk about, because this is about you. I want you to be able to walk away with the information that you're looking to find from this afternoon. So let's get started. We're going to talk about novels, grade level readers. We're going to talk a little bit about how to find them. You're going to talk to your colleagues in your groups, your breakout groups, about what they've been reading, what they've been using, and that they can recommend, and sometimes what they don't want to recommend, and how they add to your second language acquisition. So Jenny's going to be put you into breakout groups, and we can either keep the breakout groups the same group each time. She also told me that we could randomize them, correct, Jenny? Each time. So let's take a little bit of a vote. Is there anyone that would like to randomize the group so you get to be with different people each time? Pop it in the chat box.
And Trish, we are going to try to break them into language group as well,
yes,
right?
Yes.
So if you teach something other than, or even if you teach Spanish, but we want to try to get those who teach French with French and other languages with their own kind. So if you could put either in the chat or next to your name, if you rename yourself like we did for the social hour the other night, that would help me out while Trisha's introing so I can get you into groups accordingly. Thank you.
Okay. So it's sometimes doing random groups is kind of nice because you can end up meeting a lot of different people, and if we do the same groups, it's up to you what you choose to do. So you can pop that in the chat box and Jenny can see what's there. So one of the first things I really would like to talk about is if you're currently using grade level readers, I'd like you to share with your group what are the benefits of reading them for your students. We talked this morning, if you were at the session this morning, about the cultural aspect, about the implicit grammar study, vocabulary, whatever benefits, and you might have totally different lists. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what you feel are the benefits. And then also in your group, don't feel shy. If you're not using them, what's holding you back? And what might be an encouragement for you to be able to try them out. And so we're going to give you a few minutes to share with your group. And then when you're going to come back, I'm going to ask that each group maybe share a little bit about what you've discussed and what those benefits are, so we can hear all the wonderful things that go on when we read novels. We ready, Jen?
Just getting the last, mostly making sure that I get the French teachers together.
Okay, definitely, definitely. Because it's really important to be able to do that. If you have a pen or a pencil with you, you can also jot things down. And then also whatever goes into the chat box will be saved, so we'll be able to create a document from that as well. So you'll be able to have that information of where the books are and what's each one. We're going to talk about that a little bit later.
I got it.
Jenny's the master
Nicole,
tech.
I just need to find Nicole. Oh no, she's there. Okay, I think I got everybody correctly. If I didn't, I will try to fix that during the first one. I might have missed one or two, but I think I got you all.
Okay, so I'm going to give
did you want to join a group?
Can I? Yeah. How about if I can join a different group each time? That'd be great.
Okay.
Because I really just want to listen.
That's fine.
I've talked a lot.
All right.
Okay.
And how long would you like them to talk for?
Let's go for about 7 or 8 minutes because it gives everybody a chance to say something.
Okay. All right, everybody. Have fun.
Do you want to pause the recording?
I thought I did. Recording.
Unmute. Sorry about that.
No, when you come back from the breakouts,
it mutes you. It mutes you. True, it does. It does. So the group I was in, man, so much information. So how about if somebody from each group or whoever would like to share, would you like to jump in and share some of the things that you talked about?
Feel free to unmute yourselves. Don't be shy.
I heard a lot of good stuff from my group. So anybody there? Oh.
I can talk. One thing that Erica brought up in our group is that she really wants to make sure that that everybody has access to the reading.
Yep.
And sometimes for our IEP students, you know, there's that struggle. And I had pointed out that I had a great experience in the spring when we did the Fluency Matters, that we had the audio combined with that.
Yes.
But when I have my class set of books, I don't have that unless I make it myself. And she had also said too that when she went and she like reached out to I don't know if she said a literacy specialist, but somebody like a coach in the school, which was a great idea because we don't get training in literacy, even though we're language teachers.
Right.
But to reach out also and to see like, well, what are the strategies that we can be employing for those students?
Right. That book that I referenced this morning about the Read Aloud Handbook has a lot of great stuff in it too. More towards parents, but I think it could be adapted. Anyone else?
I guess I'll talk for a sec. Claire in our group talked about finding resources that were authentically written, not sounding like they were written by a French teacher or a Spanish teacher. I thought that was a really good point because you can tell the difference. And also something that was relevant to the time. Sometimes they're antiquated or outdated, and the kids didn't seem to relate to that as well.
Absolutely. We talked about a book that Katie was going to go to try to find the title of. It was actually written in March about the quarantena. So it was very timely. So absolutely, absolutely. And the goal of those readers too, like they were sound like they were written by a French or a Spanish teacher, they were the goal was written for language students in a classroom. But I agree, coming up with those authentic, if you can get them at the right level, that definitely would be an awesome way to do it. Excellent. Anybody else?
We talked about in our group that for some of the younger readers, one of our participants uses AIM and scans the children's books to share, and also nursery rhymes. Patricia was sharing about nursery rhymes.
Great.
And your session this morning was super helpful. If you weren't there, go listen to it in terms of how to actually implement using a novel for those who haven't started it or tried it yet.
The also, if you, I have friends that teach elementary school, and there's, it's called, not, I forget what the name of the website. It's either Razzle or Dazzle, or maybe it's Razzle Books or something, where they're, that's it, Raz Kids. And you actually, they have books in there in Spanish. They're children books, and you can pick the levels. And so if you have a friend that's hooked into Raz Books, that's another option as well. And then the kids can read the books in the language. Because I used to do that. I had a basket full of Spanish children's books to give the kids so that they could pick those up as well. Because if they know the story of Curious George in English, then they can see it in Spanish, they can read it and understand the story. They have that familiarity. Another way, it's just another way to do it.
This is actually a question, Trish. If you do, I mean, I have a pretty large library, which I don't think I use efficiently enough, of French and Spanish children's books.
Mm-hmm.
Some were, a French parent in town gave me their old books.
Wow.
There are ways to incorporate that without having to go through.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You can use those for your sustained silent reading as well, because sometimes children's books are not written at a children's level.
No,
For
that's
us,
exactly it.
you know, you read through them. The ones that are specifically translated are, but not the others. So for an upper level student, it's still a challenge to read those stories. And I have I guess it's about an inch and a half thick. It's called Cuentos, and they're all fairy tales from around the world, and they're in Spanish. So, so yeah, I mean, it's a great way to use those books.
Yeah, because we have a lot, and I think we can use them efficiently.
Right. And you could scan them. As long as you give credit to the author, I don't think there's an issue. You could scan them and put them in, and then with the Screencastify, we can read the story to them. And like Melanie was saying, being able to hear the audio to go with what they're seeing, it really does make a difference for a lot of students. I agree. Reaching out to our literacy teachers would be a great way to do it, especially those first couple of days of school when we're going to all be figuring out what we're doing. If we could reach out to them, it would be really awesome. The book about there's a book that Katie just posted about conversaciones con un, couldn't see it, but she popped it in. It's also in the chat box. Great. Anything else for other groups?
I wanted to just add on when you were talking about Screencastify and reading. One of the ways I innovated over the shutdown was to do that. I didn't use Screencastify, I used WeVideo. And a friend of mine put all of the text in, so the student had the text, a picture, and my little reading. And we were able to highlight the text that I was reading.
Wow.
At the time, so it was very much like follow the bouncing ball. It did take some time, and we collaborated on it, but I think it was really worth it.
But once you've got it done, you've got it.
Yeah, I'm just throwing that out there. Yep.
And it's WeVideo, like W-E?
Yep, WeVideo. There's a free version. It sort of mixes like PowerPoint or Google Slides and video, so you can do things with different layers.
Great.
It was really great.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing. That was great. That's great. Anybody else? Okay. Well, let's move on a little bit. Now we're going to get past the benefits, and let me get my screen back up here okay.
Yeah, so when you go to a breakout room, it takes your screen away, so you have to share again. So that's my bad. I did not.
No, that's okay. I was wondering
We've been discussing the tech part. So I'm sorry.
I was kind of wondering.
Difficulty.
Well, I was kind of wondering. My screen just kind of won't go anywhere. So I'll tell you what. I'll just read the next question. I don't want to take the time. So here's what I'd like you to do now. Is now that we've talked about the benefits and some great feedback on. Now I can't even get the rest of you back. This is funny. There we go. There's everybody. In your groups, what I'd like you to do this time is to share the name of a novel that you've used in class, something you've used that you just absolutely love, and why you loved it. What did it provide for the kids? Was it a cultural point you were looking for? Was it vocabulary? Was it a mixture? You know, so that we can hear all these different readers that are going on, and then anything else that you think was relevant about the book that you absolutely loved. And so you're going to share a book that you loved, something you would recommend, and make sure you talk about the level as well, so that people know which group of students it would be appropriate for. Make sense?
So I have all the French teachers together in a large group of 10.
Okay.
Do you all like that, or do you want 2 groups of 5 French teachers? Just write either 5 or 10 in the chats if you prefer.
I'd like 10.
right, let's keep you at 10 for this
Okay.
time, and maybe the next time, maybe we'll do a smaller group. I find like if you're all French teachers and you have a very smaller, you have much smaller chance of being with French teachers, so I think you like being with each other.
It's also
Right.
in today's world, we can't be with anybody. So it's so much fun to see a big group.
True. Okay,
So,
so I mixed
okay.
up the Spanish teachers a little bit. And are we doing 7 minutes again?
So why don't we do, since we've got 10 in that French group,
Yeah.
why don't we go about 10? And then that way everybody will have a chance to share, and that should be good.
Okay. There you go.
There you go.
So, well, our group went crazy with lots of suggestions. So everybody get their pen and pencil ready because there's going to be a lot of information coming. So who'd like to start? Share a book, share what you like about it, what level you read it for, and why you read it. Go for it.
If you're worried about jumping on other people's feet, if you raise your hand or put a comment in the chat, I can call on you to have some order if anybody's interested in that option.
I'll go, Jen.
All right.
I'll go, Jenny, Suzanne. So I read La Novia with my students last year, and for the first year of Spanish, and there's so many cognates in it. It was a nice little story about, a boy that has a crush on his best friend, but she's dating another boy, and then her boyfriend kind of mistreats her, so he scoops in and rescues her. So the kids are really into it because of the storyline. There's not a whole lot of culture, but the vocab is good and they remembered it. The vocab seemed to be at the perfect level because they could grasp it, but they were challenged at the same time. And sometimes you can weave some social emotional learning in there as well. So I recommend that, La Novia.
Mm-hmm.
Great. And Jenny, I'm keeping a list.
Melanie, I see your name next to.
Yeah, so I was starting to share with mine the very last book. It's one I forgot because I don't teach the juniors anymore, but we read Vida y Muerte en la Mar Salvatrucha. It's definitely like an upper level because of the content. It's about gangs. But man, the history that we can teach there about how the gang came to be. We talk about El Salvador, the culture in there. The kids are just enthralled by the book. And we have so much fun with the activities that we do while we're reading it. So that's my favorite one of all time. And it's an anonymous author.
Yeah, you have no idea who wrote it.
Which is a discussion in itself.
Yep. Why do you think? Oh, absolutely. Especially for the upper level kids.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Very interesting. Thank you, Melanie. Wendy?
Well, I'm just kind of dipping my feet into the whole reader thing. Last year, I started 8th grade, their second year, with Daniela Detective. So that was a lot of fun because we did, instead of doing traditional review at the beginning of the year, I was able to review in context, and we talked about a lot about La Martina and what that was and the history behind that and the culture there. So that was fun.
Cool.
Can you repeat the name of that one, Wendy?
La Nueva Detective.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
No, Daniela Detective.
Yeah, Wendy, your sound got a little fuzzy at the end, so thank you for repeating that. Anyone else? Karen?
Yeah. So a few years back, we started a level 5 class. Can you hear me?
Oh, Karen, your sound's not so good either.
Oh, no.
If you're far away from your router, you might want to move closer.
It's still hard
so
to
much.
hear.
Karen, you can type it into the chat box. That's totally fine.
Awesome.
Anyone else?
I will share another level 1 book if anybody's looking for something to go with the Day of the Dead. It's a Myra Canyon book called Tumba. A great little story. It's a quick read. It's really a very quick read, and it's about, you know, children in Mexico during the Day of the Dead, but it addresses what schools are like because it talks about the kids going to school, what classes they take, what they, the length of the school day, how they go to school, walk home, the hours, and then it talks of the mystery of it is looking for something that they found through the grandfather, but it's all set in the backdrop of the Day of the Dead. And like I said, it's a very quick read, and it would be a great one to do in the fall when you first get back to school. That was Myra Canyon Tumba. She also does one called Fiesta Fatal about quinceañera for Spanish that's really quite good as well. Myra, I love Myra's books. Sometimes they get a little loony, but I think that's part of their charm sometimes. But she's got a lot of them out there too to choose from. Anyone else? El Cajillón del Beso. Interesting. Well, okay then.
I have another one that my students really like. It's upper level again, but it's La Guerra Sucia.
Oh yeah.
We make a lot of connections in class as we study about that, and what's interesting is they talk about how much they learned from it also, and they're just dumbfounded about, you know, what happens in other countries about, I mean, this is a disappearance of a journalist, but we talk about the background of it, and, you know, we talk about all the disappearances that have occurred, and then we can talk about them all over the world also, not just in
right.
Oh right, yes, that's a good movie, right, for it. Yeah, so that's another one that students like.
And there was a movie made in the United States back in, I want to say the 80s, maybe it was, I think it was I can picture her and I can't think, Sissy Spacek and Jack Lemmon, and it was about her husband. It was just before the coup took place in Chile, and her husband was a journalist and he was missing, and he went down to Chile to try to find where his son was, and they actually go into the football stadium, the soccer stadium where the bodies were. And my husband actually lived in Chile literally after the coup, right after the coup. He got there with the Peace Corps. He had some experience. He actually spent a night in jail and it was pretty interesting time to be in Chile for sure. There's another movie and I can't think of the name of it, but it's got some questionable things even for upper level students. It's like Mapuche. I can't remember it but it also was talking about the coup and what happened there. But our older level students, our upper level students, you know, and then they go to their history class and they ask their history teacher a question. And I think sometimes the history teachers are like, wow, where did you hear that? Where are you learning these things? Which is great because they're getting it in both places, which is a lot of fun. So awesome. And you're right, Melanie, there's tons of songs that go with it too. And that's another way to bring another whole facet into it by bringing the music into it as well. So, well, we have time for one more breakout, I think, and share. So we've talked about the novels, we've talked about which one you like, why you like them. And now what I'd like you to do is to share an activity or a method or a strategy that you use to introduce the novel, or things that you do maybe to review information as you read, or an assessment that you tie it all together at the end with. So activities, introductions, activities, and perhaps an assessment that you use. So Jenny, I think we have time for about 9 minutes or so, 9 or 10 minutes.
Sounds good. I'm going to put you with some French teachers this time.
That'd be great.
Just for a change. And I mixed them up a little bit.
Great. Well, that was great. I hope everybody had the same experience in their groups. So let's hear what your activities are, your assessments, or whatever your strategies are to introduce or use a novel.
Don't be shy.
Can I put Melody on the spot with her paper bag assessment? Because I thought that was a really good idea.
Yeah, so we wanted to be creative with an assessment, and it was an interpersonal one because when we teach the high school, we know they can handle that. As long as we prepare them for throughout the whole unit, they know that it's going to be an interpersonal. So at the end of Robo en la Noche, and I think we've done it with another book too because we love this assessment, we gave the students paper bags, like lunch or craft paper bags. And on the outside, we gave them prompts they had to maybe draw a picture of whatever character they were choosing, draw a picture of their favorite part of the book. I don't remember what they all were, something on, for those 4 sides. But then the biggest thing was then on the inside, they had to put a gift for that person. So the outside was just really like lower level, right? Because it was just proving that they understood and they read the book. But the inside was really like deeper level thinking. I mean, some of the students are just, so then when they did the interpersonal, then they had to ask each other about the bag. And then when they pulled the gift out of the bag, they weren't allowed to say anything. The other person had to ask questions about it.
That's great.
Like, well, what is it? That's an obvious question, but we need them asking those easy questions anyways. And why is this the gift? And sometimes it was really obvious. The kids would choose a horse because McKenna loves horses and her horse had died. But other kids would sometimes choose something that blew my mind away, that they really had to think about why that was appropriate. And it was a key because the dad was going to be he was in a new relationship and he wanted to give a key to offer her to her apartment or something. I don't know.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it was fun.
That's a great idea.
And Mike asked the question also, and I said, he said, oh, so they all brought their own in? I said, yes, but I also have a backup of different ones that anyone can explain because I know someone's going to forget or someone's.
That's a good idea. Good idea. Anyone else? There were some great ideas in my group. Go ahead.
I'll share about to introduce the book we read. It took place in Colombia, so we made a Google Earth interactive questionnaire where they went to each different places that pop up in the book, and also you can link articles to cultural events that take place in those cities, and then I asked them questions about each place or each event. So it was kind of an introduction before they dove into reading.
That's a great way to do it. And you can use the realia because you're going to find those articles and things that are happening there. That's great. I like that.
Thank you, Erica. Anyone else?
Sarah, share what Mary used to do with the tableau.
Sure. I was remembering back to, I don't remember, a Mary Holmes session not too long ago where she was talking about drama techniques in language classes, and she shared with us the idea of taking a scene and having your groups make a tableau based on what they read. So you would have a kid, I think we did Little Red Riding Hood or something. I used it in Little Red Riding Hood, and the kid's like, I'm the lamp in the bedroom, and I'm the blanket, and I'm the wolf, and you would have them pose. So then you say 1, 2, 3, and the kids all pose in the scene.
That's a great way. I think that's great.
Fun.
It's fun. Something different, and it's so Mary. It's so Mary. Anything else? Everybody's heads exploding. That's how I always feel because you get so many different ideas. There's so many things that are going on.
I think Rachel had said she did the sequencing, which I did with a group, and we did it by running dictation. So I had groups doing running dictation, which was kind of fun. So they had to compete to write all the sentences and then put them in order.
Another thing you can do too is you can give each group one book. This is after a review. And if you're doing just chapters 1 through 5 and you're taking a break, what I'll do is each group gets one book, and they're in groups of 3 or 4, and I give them a sentence in English and they have to find it in Spanish, or you could do it at a much lower level. You could just one vocabulary word, and they can't use the glossary. You can figure out a way to keep them from doing that, and so they have to go through, and then somebody has to take it to the board and write it in their spot, and they have to copy it exactly the way it was. And it's kind of like running dictation, but instead of it being in the hallway and copying the thing, it's in the book, and they have to find it. So they have to identify, it helps them because they have to read the sentence and identify the actions that were taking place. Gee, which chapter was that? When did that happen? Did it happen first, second, or third? Find it and then write it down. So it's just another way to do it. Another way to do it. But the more activities like these that we've been mentioning that you have, it makes the book fun because you're not just reading a chapter and answering questions, because that's what they tend to do in a lot of classes where they do a lot of reading. It's comprehension questions. And Stephen Krashen would be the first one to say he would say, bag the comprehension questions, just read and figure out what's going on. But we know that that's not our reality. We have to have an assessment. We have to be able to do that. So, well, this has been awesome. I love listening. I was just going to share
an activity that I did with the 8th grade where I had them rewrite the last chapter.
Oh, that's great.
And it had to be in fitting with the characters and what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
But it was an alternate ending that they thought could happen. Another thing I've done with the 5th grade is instead of pulling lines from the book and saying which character said this, they had to, and also they could do that too. And then a few times either I did or they created possible things that a character could have said. Which character would have been most likely to give this statement?
That's great. Great idea. Really good. I know also sometimes on my exams, I will ask them questions that they have no way of knowing because it wasn't in the book. Like at the end of Robo en la Noche, when Dr. Parker, David and Inez are obviously romantically linked. So I will tell them on the test, hey, Inez and David are getting married. Where will they go on their honeymoon and why? And so they have to come up with it in their own imagination, and they can use any events from the book or anything that would be, but there's no right or wrong answer. It's just make sure I can understand what you're trying to tell me. And they love that. I had a student one time tell me that it was one of the most fun exams she ever took because it was her being able to use her imagination.
Karen in the text box was talking about a Pancarta project that a couple people wanted to hear about. Karen, I don't know if this sounds better.
The Pancarta project? Yeah. Karen, are you there?
Here.
Still hard on the sound.
There's a lag.
Is it too much to type in the text, Karen? Yeah, we can't hear her.
Yeah, no, there's a real big lag. Maybe she can type it out later and email it.
Karen,
here she's moving down the hallway.
Maybe we'll get her.
She's moving. Hey, I could read her lips.
We have a couple. We can go over a little bit. That's okay.
She's muted though.
Talk one more time.
We still can't hear you, Karen. Sorry.
Karen, maybe if you would be so kind as to either, if you want to email me, or if it's a lot to type, so you don't have to type it into the text box. If you want to either record yourself on a little video or something, and we can pop it in the folder for the session or something, because I see there's a lot of intrigue in this one. So we want to get to the bottom of what the Pancarta project is.
Definitely.
Okay. So she's given her email. So if you would like to hear about it, she'll write an email to all of us. Yes?
Oh, great.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you. Can't wait to see it. I'm curious. I'm curious. Well, this has been wonderful. I've learned so much. I hope everybody's been able to have a takeaway, and we'll be able to maybe recreate this for COVID and put it into those plans. So as you come up with ideas, we can continue to email each other, and I'm pretty sure we'll get an email list like we always do after Summer Institute. So we'll be able to, share with each other what we're doing. Thank you so much for coming this afternoon. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Trish. Thank you to everybody for being here. We welcome and encourage your feedback. I will once again give you that link for our session evaluation. So while it's fresh in your head, you can go ahead and fill that out for us. After the conference, you'll get your CTLE credit hours by filling out the form that you could access from either the final reminders email or from the shared drive where all the session folders are. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow for our final 3 sessions. If you're signed up for the Uncon, make sure you check the email about that. Otherwise, you can always watch the recordings after the fact if you need to miss something and catch up on social media. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jenny.